13.3, second to the last section, we're going to be taking a look at something called truth in lending. This starts out with an act that was passed called the Truth in Lending Act. And so our leading idea begins the following with what that is entailing. So truth in lending laws emphasize honesty, transparency, and fairness in financial agreements. I think we would all agree those are good things to have, right? They're values that build trust and protect all parties involved. Similarly, faith in God calls us to live with integrity and truthfulness in our relationships and decisions. Just as clear and honest lending practices create foundations for healthy financial interactions, faith in God encourages us to build our lives on principles of truth and trust. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this opportunity to be here today, our last day of learning new material together. I pray that as we encounter information about mortgages and about other kinds of loans in Section 13.4, that the details that we're working with would come to our minds in the future as we encounter these situations and provide a basis for understanding decisions that we will be making in the future. I pray that you be with these students as they head into finals week, that they would continue to work hard and prepare the way that they need to finish well. We pray in Jesus' name, amen. So what is the Truth in Lending Act? How is it supposed to do these things? Well, it was passed in 1968, and it addressed two major issues. Number one, how can we tell the true annual interest rate a lender is charging? Okay, so the rate that they give you is not necessarily the full, disclosure of what's happening. How do we know what's fully going on? And then secondly, how much of the finance charge are we entitled to save if we pay off a loan early? So most of what we're going to be sort of residing, and we're going to talk about both of them, but that second thing that we're seeing here resides sort of strongly in this idea of if you pay something off early, how much does it save you? Okay, and that's a big deal. So the first thing that we're going to take a look at is called the annual percentage rate. I have a table. I guess I don't have it in here at this moment. Give me just a second. Let me see if I can get it put in. And I have one to hand out to you. Let's see if I made my copies. I think I did at the beginning of the semester. Whoops, that wasn't what I meant to do. Oh, yes. Okay, everybody needs table 5. So I'm going to pass back a few of these down each row. Just make sure you get one and then pass me back the extras, okay? I'll take a picture and put it into my slides. Okay, has everybody just about got your table, what's it called, table 5? Yes? Okay, let me see if I can get a picture of this put in here. Okay. It was in my slideshows, my previous presentations, but not here. Okay. This table is going to be really helpful for you to have. It's going to be helpful for you to have in real copy, which is why I've given you one. If you lose this, it's posted in Canvas. You can print another one. If you still don't have it, it's actually accessible every time you need it inside of my math lab as well. You can click on a button, it'll pull it up. I just find it easier to actually be able to run my finger across the paper to find the things that I need in real time instead of a computer screen. My eyes track a little bit better on paper, so I want you to have a copy of this, and we'll be using it in class today. Okay, so we're going to take a look, and I'll show you how to use this table as we need it used. Okay, so we're going to recall Ann and Andy. Do you remember them, Ann and Andy? On Thursday, you're going to meet Jack and Jill. I mentioned that before. They're not really coming to class, but in a paper form they are, every bit as much as Ann and Andy is with us here today. They're the ones who bought the refrigerator. Okay, so continuing their scenario, shortly after after they bought the refrigerator, they had to get a new dishwasher. The dishwasher dies. So again, they decide to finance a new dishwasher. It costs $500 with $100 down. But this loan is only at 6% add-on interest for 18 months, and we're going to find the APR of the loan. Okay, so I need my pens. There we go. So the first question that we're asked to find, or we're going to run through the steps of how we go about finding these things. Step one is to find the amount financed. Okay, so it said that the dishwasher cost how much? $500. And how much did they pay down? $100. So how do we find the amount that they financed? You just subtract it, right? So in this particular scenario, we would take our 500 minus the 100, and they would be financing 400. Now, not all financing works that way, right? Sometimes they'll say you're going to finance a certain percentage. Okay, so let's say that they wanted you to, pay 10% down and finance 90%. Okay, that's fine. You take that percentage and you take like 90% and you multiply by 0.9. That's 90% times the amount of the product. Okay, so that's another option that this could sort of show up as. Okay, so they're going to finance $400. The finance charge is finding the finance charge is step two. So it says we're going to find the interest on the loan. So do you remember we had an interest formula? I'll remind you. It was I equal PRT. Does that look familiar? I hope so. Yes. Okay. So this is simple interest. Simple interest and add-on interest are sort of interchangeable terms for the purposes of what we're doing. So our interest is actually going to be taking the principal. That's the amount we're financing, right? It's the amount we borrow or we invest, in this case, borrow, times the interest rate. What did it say the add-on interest rate was in this problem? 6%. So what is that as a decimal? Yeah, so 0.06, or we can write 0.06. And then time is always in years. Got to remember, the time's always got to be written in years. Now, sometimes it's given to us in months. That's okay. But we just have to turn it into years in order to use it in the formula. So this one actually said, how long are we going to do this add-on interest for? 18 months, which is 1.5 years. Okay, is everybody tracking with me? All that makes sense. Okay, so some of this is review, hopefully. Hopefully you've done your homework and it's review at this point. All right, so I'm just going to grab a calculator. Go ahead and find out for us what is the finance charge, right? How much are they going to have to pay in this case, interest or finance for this particular loan? Yeah, $36. That's not too bad, right? $36. Okay. $36. So the the third step is the step where our table is going to become involved here quickly, okay? This is going to be finding the finance charge per $100. And so let me kind of give you a how this works description. So we're going to call this H. I don't have a good reason why they use H, but that's fine. It's H, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to take our finance charge and we're going to divide it by the amount financed. And we're going to multiply that by $100 because it said per $100. Okay, so this is the basic formula for finding H. Well, we actually found all those values in steps 1 and 2. So what was the finance charge? 36. What was the amount financed? 400. So this is steps 2 on top, step 1 on bottom. And then we're going to multiply that by $100 to find out what H is. What will that give us? 9. Okay, does that seem simple enough? Okay, and you've got these notes as you're working. You can just go through it step by step, right? Okay, so step 4 is to actually use the table. Okay, so I would like for you to take your table, okay, and you're going to locate H in the correct row. So let's talk about how this table works, and I'll flip back to my screen over here so we can look at it together. So if we're taking a look at this table, I've got to make sure that I'm looking in the right rows and columns to make all this work. Now, if you take a look over here on the left-hand side, it has a list of monthly payments, and it is monthly, right? So which one of these is the one that we have? 18. So we're on the one that says 18 months, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to track along over in here until we get the value that's the absolute closest. It can be higher or lower, but the closest to the H that we have. So all the values in the table are H. All of these things in the table, not the column headers, not the row sides, not those, the inside pieces are the H values. So if we go along our row 18 until we get to the nearest value of 9, it's going to be either the 8.93 or the 9.35 because one's smaller, one's larger, but one's closer. Which one's closer? 8.93. This is the closest H value to our 9 in our table. I mean, right? Like this is the closest one we've got. And if you go up to the column header then, this right here is your APR. It's 11%. It's how you use the table. Find the corresponding months that you have. You take the H value that you calculated and look for it, the closest thing you can get to it, and then you go up to the column header at the top. It's 11% for APR. So let's go back to our problem. Our APR then is 11%. I'd like for you to note this. It's written on your paper, but I'm going to write it in here as well. Or it's written on mine. I think it's on yours. If not, you can write it in. This is nearly double the add-on rate that you're quoted. Right? They told you 6%. But the true APR, right? This is addressing that first part of the Truth in Lending Act, right? The true APR for the scenario, based on the constructs that we were given in this problem, is that it's actually an 11% interest that we're being charged as an annual percentage rate. Why is that happening? Remember that interest on interest stuff we talked about last time? That's what's going on. Okay, how are you feeling so far? Do you think you can use the table? Okay, let's take a look then at the second part of the Truth in Lending Act. Jonathan, yes? Do you want the table? Is that what you're wanting? This one?
No, so actually I need the two after that.
This one?
And then the one before as well.
The one before doesn't have any writing on it. Is that the one you want?
No, that's
You're good? Okay, cool. So the second part of the Truth in Lending Act talked about if you pay something off early, how much money do you save, right? There are two different ways that we're going to calculate that quantity, and both of these methods give us similar values. They're very similar, but they will be different. So if you do the wrong one in the wrong place, you're going to get the wrong answer, right? Okay, so here's the first one. This is called unearned interest. This is the actuarial method. It is the more difficult of the two, okay? So this is one way a lending institution can calculate. So if I go to the bank today, like literally if I went to the bank today and I said, I want to pay off my house and I'm going to pay off my house early, right? They would be able to calculate the final payment that I would have to make, and then they would also be able to calculate how much money I'm saving by doing so. And this is one of the ways that can be done to do that, or used to do that, okay? So unearned interest, the actual method. So for an installment loan requiring monthly payments, that's what a mortgage is. That's what a car loan is. We've talked about that, right? That's what like a financing the refrigerator or the dishwasher or jewelry or whatever. This is kind of how this would work. R is your regular monthly payment, how much you're paying every month. K is the amount of scheduled payments that are left after the payment you're making, right? So how many payments do I still owe after I pay this month's money? And then H is the finance charge per $100. That's what we talked about before. And if that's what we're using, that is the actuarial method, the way that we calculate the unearned interest is by taking K times R times H over 100 plus H. And this is our formula we're going to be using. And we know what all those values are, right? U is the unearned interest. That means the money I'm saving. The K is the number of monthly payments that I won't have to make because it's paid off now, right? R is the regular monthly payment. And H is this quantity that we got from this table. Okay? Now, we're going to use the table one more time in a slightly different way as we take a look at unearned interest. So let's take a look at how that works. One more thing before we get there. Sorry, the payoff amount then. The payoff amount then is actually how much I would actually have to write the check for at the bank to be done with whatever that loan is, right? So we have the R is our monthly payment that we're making. K is the amount of payments we won't have to make. And then The U is our unearned interest. So this is actually K plus 1 would be the monthly payments we don't have to make plus our current month. That's why it's adding 1 to it. You're going to multiply that by the regular monthly payments. That's how much you would have paid during that time frame, right? And then you're subtracting off the money you're saving, the unearned interest part. Jeremiah.
Too much on the other side, I need to get more. Okay, got it.
Got it? Okay, so let's go back to Ann. Ann got a new job, and it came with a sign-on bonus. Have you heard of jobs that come with sign-on bonuses? There's actually quite a few that do, and they crop up sometimes as well. So shortly after COVID, nursing jobs came with sign-on bonuses for quite a while because the nursing profession saw a strong decrease in people that were employed. They quit their jobs, decided they didn't want to do that anymore, or they retired early, right? So there was that. Teaching jobs will sometimes come with sign-on bonuses in certain circumstances. There are even like service jobs like waiters, waitresses that will sometimes do that. The way that it usually works is after you've been here for X amount of time, then we will backdate and give you an extra bonus for having come and work for us. So she gets a sign-on bonus for her new job. In order to get her finances under control, their finances under control, the couple decides to pay the dishwasher off early. Yay, that's a good decision. They'd originally agreed to 18 months and have made 5 payments so far. Find the unearned interest using the actuarial method. So we actually have, and I'm going to write it here on the top, the formula for unearned interest first. This is U equals K, R, and then I have H over 100 plus H. Everybody good so far? Okay, let's talk about K. K would be the number of months after this month that I'm actually going to not have to make my payments. So how many payments did it say that they started out making? They were supposed to make 18, right? They're supposed to make 18 payments. They've made how many? 5, and then the one they're currently on would mean 6. So this would be taking off those 6 payments, right? How many months am I not going to have to pay? Well, they're not going to have to pay 12 times, right? For a whole year. They're going to not be making those payments anymore. Let's look at our regular monthly payment. So we haven't calculated that yet, but let's think about what that would be. The regular monthly payment needs to pay back what we owe. How much was the loan? $400, right? That was how much we had to loan or borrow, $400. How much was the finance charge? What was it? It was 36. Yeah, so it was over here. We did this right here. So the amount that was financed was 400. That's how much we borrowed. The finance charge was the 36. So when we pay this thing off, we have to pay $436, right? Like that's the agreement that we made when we started the process, or Ann and Andy did. Does that make sense? So those are the 2 things that have to be paid back. The interest, the 36, and the original amount of the loan, 400. Okay? So taking a look then at our regular monthly payments, we had $400 we borrowed, $36 in interest that we agreed to, and we paid it over, they paid it over how many months? 18 months. So this is going to be our monthly payment. So we would divide by 18 months. All right, so somebody calculate that for me. It's money, so we'll go with 2 decimals. How much is their monthly payment? Treasure.
I don't have that, but on your 18 minus 6, how'd you get the 6 part?
The 6 is always calculated as how many months we've paid, including the current month we're on. So it says that they've made 5 payments, and they're currently making payment number 6. That's why we're subtracting off 6 instead of, say, 5. Okay? So we always don't count the month that we're on in terms of the future months. It's always how many months are in the future after our present month we're in right now. Do we have a value? 24, say it again.
$24.22.
Fantastic, $24.22. Okay, everybody good so far? So if you're taking a look at what we have K and we have R, and you might actually think we have H, but we don't quite have H. We had an original H. What was our original H value?
9.
It was 9. Y'all remember it? We calculated it, right? We found that. But the details have changed because we're not going to pay it off now in 18 months, right? We're paying it off early. So in terms of this table, we're not going to be in the same place anymore on this table because we're paying it off early. Okay? So let me go back to where we were. Let me write down what we just said. Our original H, our previous H, was 9, which resulted in an APR of 11%, correct? That's what we had. What we need to do next then is to find our new H value, okay? So our new H, the one we're going to be using here, takes into consideration that we're paying the things off early. So we take our APR that we were already at, %, and we go back to table 5. And here's how it works. Okay, we're still at an APR of 11%. Okay, that's still our APR. But we're no longer paying it off in 18 months, true? So what we're going to do is we're going to look for the number of months that we're not going to make payments in. And we found that. How many months are we no longer going to be paying this thing off in?
6.
Well, 6 is what we're going to be paying off in. 12 is what we're not going to. Okay, so there's going to be 12 months of time, if you will, that we're saving. Are y'all tracking? Okay, so let me change colors. So we're actually going to be looking now at row 12. Not row 12, but the 12 row, right? Because this is how much time we're saving. So this is the saved time. I think that's actually okay. Saved months. The months that we have saved is 12 months. So we're still on the APR row of 11%. But now we need to be on the column of 11%, but now we need to be on row 12. So right here, 6.06 is our new H value. Okay, so the APR column stays the same, but I'm adjusting my row based on my new saved amount of time. And that 6.06 is now my H value. I think this is the trickiest thing we're going to do all day. Okay? So over here, my new H value is 6.06. And it's coming from, I'll call it row 12. It's the row that has the 12 in it anyway. Okay? 6.06. Okay, we still haven't found exactly all we need. We found all the pieces. We haven't found the quantity we're asked to find. We're asked to find unearned interest, which is this formula, true? But at this point now, I do actually have K, R, and H. I have all the values that I need. So let me shrink this down a little bit and shift it over. Maybe I'll just shift. That might be enough. Okay, and let's find our unearned interest. So our unearned interest is found by taking K, which we've identified as 12, right? That's the K value, the amount of months we save, times our regular monthly payment, which is $24.22. And we're going to multiply that by H, which was 6.06. And it's going to be divided by 100 plus 6.06. I don't love the green with the blue here. Let's do this. All right, happy enough with that. So on the bottom, we're going to have 106. Okay, this is silly. 6.06, 106.06. All right, is that okay? 6.06 on top. I have the same value on bottom plus 100.
Wait. Oh, wait, that's a plus, not a T. Never mind.
Okay. Oh, on the top, my formula? Yeah, it is a plus. Okay, is everybody okay? All right, your calculator will do this just fine. You can actually multiply 12 times 24.22 times 106.06 divide by 106.06. Like you can do that straight from left to right if you'd like. It's probably worth saying that whatever answer I get has to be between 0 and 36, right? If 36 was the most interest that I would have paid anyway, then 36 is the most I could possibly save, and I'm not going to save all of it, right? Because I am paying the monthly payments for 6 months. So as I calculate this, as you calculate this, what do you get for the unearned interest, or the amount of money you saved? 16 what? I have 16.61.
16 point, I got 16.5.
Let me take a look.
I might have
Can I
said
see-
it wrong.
It's 106.06 in the denominator. You've got 106.6. Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay, did anybody else not get 1661 specifically? Okay, is that all right? Okay, so we saved $16 out of the 36 we would have owed. That's what this is, right? These are smallish numbers, really. Like the refrigerator is not very much compared to like the mortgage stuff we're going to look at in a second. Okay, so then the payoff amount is our second screen. So our payoff amount then, our formula for that looks like this. The payoff is K plus 1 times R minus U. We said K was 12, so this is 12 plus 1. Regular monthly payments was $24.22. And we're going to subtract the unearned interest we just calculated at 16.61. And this would be that payoff amount that we would have for that last payment that we were making in the 6th month. And I have $298.25. Somebody can confirm if I have mine written right. Zayden says yes. Okay, we're good. Okay, so this is one way of calculating unearned interest. It is the more complicated way. You ready to look at the one that goes a little bit quicker? Does everybody have it? Sorry, Treasure. Okay, this is called the Rule of 78. Rule of 78 is lovely simple in terms of that. So for a closed-ended loan requiring monthly payments, which is paid off earlier than originally scheduled, F is your original finance charge. We know what that was. We calculated that. What was it? What was our finance charge? What was it? That was our amount financed. What was our finance charge? It was step 2. 36. The amount financed was 36. So when we get to this in a minute, this 36 will go in here. N is the number of payments that we originally signed up for. So how many payments did Ann and Andy originally sign up for? 18, right? So this was 36. This is 18. Let me put them in over here, actually. K is the remaining payments scheduled after our current payment. We calculated that in the previous problem as well. What was that? 12. So after month 6, which is the current month we're on, we've already paid 5. We're in month 6. The future months, there's 12 of them. That's K. These are the only 3 values you need. You don't need a table. Okay, and you're going to put them into this formula. Okay, so this is how we're going to calculate our unearned interest with the Rule of 78. Okay, does everybody have that jotted down in terms of a formula? Not yet. Okay. Okay, am I good? Yeah, not quite. Do you have any extra table 5s anywhere that I can collect? Get back. Just gonna save them for next semester, you know. Okay, how about now? Can I move to the next slide now? Did somebody say wait? Wow, guys, if you print this out, you know it goes a lot faster. I mean, just saying. Yes, sir. I don't know why it's called the Rule of 78. That's a really good question, and I should probably look that up. I'll try to remember to do so before next class period, just for you. Okay, now am I ready? Jonathan, how are we doing? We're really close, right? Really close. I'm so excited. I want to get to the mortgage stuff for you.
So
Yes.
the original finance charge, how does that apply here? Like, what does 36 mean? I'm not understanding.
Yeah, so if you go to get a loan, whatever the contract terms of the loan are at the beginning of the loan, right? Which in Andy's situation, we have these certain contract or organization kind of pieces and so forth. They're able to tell you how much you're going to have to pay for the ability to borrow money. That's what a finance charge is. Finance charge is the amount that you're paying someone for them to give you the money and you to pay for it without having to wait and save it up for yourself. That's what a finance charge is. So in this scenario, it's just interest, right? And for the most of the ones we're doing, the finance charge is just interest. It can include some other things. Sometimes there's extra fees associated with loans and so forth like that, but the ones we're working with are more clean and simple, and it's interest that we're working with.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to do the same thing for Ann and Andy on this scenario with the rule of 78. And the formula, I'll write it again at the top, is U equals, I have K times K plus 1 over N times N plus 1 times the finance charge. So, what was our K? 12. So I have 12 times 12 plus 1, or 13, over N. What was N? Should have been 18. N is our number a month we originally signed up for, times N plus 1, which would be 19, times our finance charge, which was 36. All right? So, give me just a second. You can do 12 times 13 times 36 if you want, just like multiply straight across here, and then divide by the quantity at the bottom. Do be careful if your calculator understands that you're not dividing by 18 and then multiplying by 19. Order of operations here, so be careful with that. If you want to be extra careful, just find out what 18 times 19 is to start with, so that you have that quantity in total that you divide by, and you can do it that way. What's your question, Jeremiah?
Where did you get the 13?
Because it's 12 plus 1.
Oh,
Yep. Same thing for the 19, it's the 18 plus 1. Okay. Again, the number has to be between 0 and 36. If you're getting a number between 0 and 36, you're probably in the ballpark anyway. And if you're getting a number that's beyond that, and obviously if you get something that's negative, that's no good. But if you're getting a number that's bigger than 36, that's a problem, right? You can't save more than you owed. If you only owed $36, you can't save $89. True? Okay, so my number has to be between 0 and 36 for it to make sense. So what do you get when you calculate this one? $16.42. That's awfully close to the $16.61 we had before, right? Here's something that I want you to understand that means, is that I don't have nearly as much flexibility at saying, well, you're pretty close. I'm going to go ahead and give you some bonus, like partial credit for this, because I don't know why you're off. Did you do it wrong? Did you do the wrong method, right? These two answers, 1661 and 1642, are very, very close, but they were found in completely different ways. Are you guys understanding what I'm saying? My ability to give partial credit is a little bit limited when we come to unearned interest problems. It needs to be really close, like within a penny or two, in order for me to know you really did it the right way, okay? The payoff amount, though, is found exactly like it was before. It's not a different formula or anything. It's the same formula, so let me jot that one down again. The way we find our payoff is we take K times K plus 1. I'm sorry, I didn't say it right. We take K plus 1. I was thinking about the one we just did. And we multiply it by R, our regular monthly payment, and we subtract off our unearned interest. So K is still 12, so this is 13. The regular monthly payment was still $24.22, but our unearned interest now is $16.42 instead of $16.61. So again, the payoff amount is going to be very, very close, right? Within some coins, right? It's a coins difference here. And I get $298.44 for my payoff amount. Just slightly different than with the actuarial method. But it's easier, yeah? I don't have to deal with any tables. I don't have to change my H values because there are no H values and all of that going on.